I'm going to share the one thing that is going to make your work look more realistic and three-dimensional, and you can start doing this today.
Most people think to correct the problem of flat-looking art, you just need to choose the right color or add more detail. While these things can be somewhat important, they're not going to solve your problem. It doesn't matter if you choose the perfect shade of pink for your flowers, all you're accomplishing then is a cartoon. The secret is in your values. Light's light enough, dark's dark enough. When most artists are learning to paint or draw, they shade everything in a comfortable mid-range. Nothing too bright, nothing too dark. It feels safe. The thing is, safe isn't going to make your work look more realistic. Safe isn't going to hold the viewer on your work. You need to be brave and make your darks darker and your lights lighter. You want that high contrast in order to get that three-dimensional look. If we look at this owl, there's no difference in the detail. There's no real difference in the color. That isn't what made the difference. The difference is in making the darker values darker, getting that contrast. He looks so much painting. I chose to paint the center area that'll be more focused around the butterfly, a lighter green color, and then fade it out into this darker black around the edges. And this is really going to give a nice glow and help the viewer's attention to stay within the painting. Right back to the subject. Now that has nothing to do with making your work look more three-dimensional. It's just a little tip I thought I'd throw in there about this painting. Notice the off in the shadows. It's pushed back because of the values. It's not because I chose the perfect shade of brown, and that doesn't even have all the details that it will have, but it's because I've got that. This really helps pushing that dark blob into the distance. This is good feel. I remember when I first started painting, I didn't understand where to put the shadows. I knew I should have them, but where do you even put them? For years, I dismissed that as some sort of knowledge that only magical people who are just that good with art know how to do. No, take one yourself if you're good at photography, or go to somewhere like Pixabay or Unsplash online and find a good one there. You want a photo with great depth, with great contrast, where the darks are really dark, the brights are really bright. This is how you're going to learn where to put your shadows. By looking at something. You can also set up a still life and work from life if you prefer, but the point is you need to look at something. If you are stuck in the elementary headspace, often pushed by terrible wannabe artists that tell you you need to draw everything from your head or memory, when you are working in photorealism, you're going to need good reference photos or something to look at to get things accurate. The myth that a good artist only creates from their mind is just not true. The people who spew that nonsense are not good artists themselves. They never reference photo and start learning where shadows and highlights would naturally fall on a subject. Confusion when I first started painting of not understanding where to put the shadows, that's where the reference photo comes in. It doesn't just tell me the shape of the subject. It doesn't just tell me where the details go. It also tells me where the shadows and highlights go. It has all the information I need in order to create a realistic painting. I just need to listen to that photo. Once you've got more experience from working with great reference photos, you are going to reach a point where you can take a not so great photo and turn it into something amazing. But you've got to work from the great photos with great depth and great values to learn those lessons, to put the shadows and highlights on a subject. You're going to take one step at a time in learning more and more with each painting. The first step is understanding that more detail or choosing the perfect color are not the things that are going to make for a more realistic painting or drawing. It is all about your values. Get those darks dark enough and lights light enough.
Let me know in the comments, do you have a tendency to make your work too light, too dark, or too bland and mid-range? And what is the biggest thing you're hoping to improve in your art?